You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Welcome to the PHOD Pod, the Practical Horseman podcast minisode series where we share audio clips from our favorite Practical Horseman On Demand videos. At Practical Horseman On Demand, you can enjoy hundreds of how-to videos and get insider access to exclusive interviews and lectures, slow motion demonstrations, and step-by-step tutorials taught by top-level pros in the hunter, jumper, equitation, and eventing disciplines. Head over to practicalhorsemanondemand.com and use promo code PHODPOD for 15% off when you sign up. That's practicalhorsemanondemand.com and promo code PHODPOD. That's PHOD for 15% off. On this week's episode, Stacia Madden, owner of Beacon Hill Show Stables and one of the most successful equitation trainers in the United States, shares her highly successful training and competition philosophy. Now, enjoy the clip.
I would say that my training philosophy has a lot to do with trying to make the riders independent. I really, really want them to have a relationship with their horse. I want them to have a huge understanding with why they're doing certain things. I don't want it to be robotic and just doing what they're told, but I want them to develop feel and compassion for the animal, and I want them to have a real relationship with their partner. So I spend a lot of time not only teaching, but explaining what I'm teaching them so that they have an understanding, because as a young rider, a lot of the equitation tests are for the riders to be tested about their knowledge of the horse or the sport inside the ring without the trainer being able to stand beside them and give them instruction. So I think all year long I'm working on gearing the riders towards independent thinking, because in all actuality, when they're in the ring for that 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 30 seconds, they're by themselves. So I don't want them to be dependent on me or my assistants. I think to be a good horseman, you just have to really put the horse first. And you have to constantly try to strive to change with the times. You know, back when I was riding, there wasn't a such thing as chiropractors and horse masseuses and all the things that we're providing for our horses now. And as new trends come along, some of them are trendy and some of them are real. And I think it's important to put your time in to figure out what is real and what will help the horse, because they're a real athlete and they're a big part of the team, so they've got to be treated as such. The biggest routine I have for the students before a big competition is trying to make sure that they're well prepared. I hear a lot about nerves, and nerves is really just a lot of adrenaline happening. And I feel like if a rider goes to a competition and feels like they're unbelievably well prepared, that adrenaline will turn into more of a positive feeling for the rider than a negative feeling. And a lot of times I'll hear the kids say, Beacon Hill trainers must have known the course because we've done all this. And that just makes me feel like we're well prepared, because there's only so many ways that you can practice jumping a long to short line or a bending line or teaching a rider to jump a Swedish oxer properly. So I feel like if you've done your homework and you've made a rider feel like they're prepared for a competition, they're ultimately going to feel really confident when they go in the show ring. I think the other thing about nerves, to really feel like you have them under control, is you've got to control what you have control over. You don't have control over the weather. You don't have control over the judges. You don't have control over the schedule. But you do have control over being on time. You do have control over arriving with all of your equipment being properly organized. You do have control over knowing your course well in advance so that you don't feel rushed. So we spend a lot of time talking about taking control over the things that you have control over, and we practice that all year long. Get on the horse and already be fully dressed. Don't be trying to do up your tie or your shirt or put your gloves on or adjust your stirrups when they're calling you 8 out. Try to have all that stuff organized beforehand, because it just makes for a well-executed day.
Thanks for listening to this PHOD Pod minisode. For unlimited access to more lessons like this, sign up for Practical Horseman On Demand at practicalhorsemanondemand.com. Don't forget to use promo code PHOD Pod, that's PHOD POD, to get 15% off. Thanks again for listening.